Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sui Generis. Today, my intention is to try to demystify the concept of what we do at Sui Generis. At Sui Generis, we consider ourselves the architects of the unthinkable, in terms of cartographers of the impossible, in terms of the sovereign mind. So at Sui Generis, if you've come for seeking for comfort, you better leave because that's not going to help you. This is not a sanctuary in terms of the conventional, nor the predictable. This is an evocation in terms of intellectual war cry, a manifesto for those who refuse to be shackled by the illusions of of limitations. So in terms of the things we do here, we for centuries we argue that humanity has actually been lured into the obedience by the metaphor of thinking outside the box and simply construing them in terms of that perception. But we argue that that is a feeble notion. So the mere trick of the mind is to grant the illusion of freedom, while we still acknowledge that the box is the reference point. But we talk about what we call the unuttered truth in terms of arguing that the box never existed. So we think outside the box and throw that box away. So we argue that this is not merely a shadow cast by fear upon the walls of the known, but we are called to step aside. We are called to alienate or set fire on the remains, and to render the irretrievable in terms of the abyss of the irrelevance. And one of the things we also do as sui generis is try to comprehend the aspect of what we call the tyranny of the pattern thought. In terms of conventional wisdom, we argue that conventional wisdom is nothing but polished stagnation. So it rewards complacency and not creation, and it sustains itself by discouraging deviation and the radicalness as being reckless. So we argue in terms of being disruptors, in terms of the disillusional, but also we know that we end up shattering history in terms of creating amenities that would resonate well with the precedents that augur and revive the world today. So we believe that we create what we call new epochs in terms of forging a future. We also argue in terms of the byproduct of our minds not being only abandoned by convention, but we wage war against those traditional thoughts. So what then shall we make of what sui generis then is in terms of content, in terms of intellectual embellishments? Shall we embrace the abyss of absolute originality? Yes, those are some things we need to think about. Some of the things that we challenge ourselves as sui generis, for example, we call upon people to become thinkers, but particularly more than thinkers, in terms of those who see things that aren't seen, who construct ideas, who defy the inertia of the known in terms of our degree of intellectual acumen. So we also ban the maps of yesterday. Yes, in terms of the road of the unprecedented to become chartered agitators, or even try to trace those borrowed compasses and tear apart the blueprints that have actually orchestrated or been ambits of the world for a long time. So these are things that we argue in terms of demystifying those components, traditional components that have existed for some time. We also desanctify the idea of thoughts, for example, in terms of what great minds not only to be worshipped but also to be surpassed. For example, if Newton, for example, father by standing on the shoulders of the giants, then we must be the ones who eclipse the giants themselves in terms of relevancy, in terms of being assassins of invasions. So we also transcend the language of mediocrity, and those are some things we think about. So here, words shape reality, and the reality is actually constrained by by the limitations of language. We speak in formulations yet unknown, and we dare to articulate thoughts that have no a linguistic precedent. So if the vocabulary of our mind becomes common, then your thinking is already compromised. So we reconstruct reality and we don't inherit it. So the fundamental aspects here, sui generis particularly, is arguing in terms of the nature of existence. We negotiate in terms of physics, for example, in terms of philosophy, in terms of law, in terms of governance, in terms of perception, in terms of politics. So nothing is immutable except the cowardice of those who are unwilling to challenge their own assumptions. So we assume that nothing is unquestionable. We question everything, including the universe here at Sui Generis. So we basically people who believe Bernard Shaw once saying, most men see things and ask why. We dream of things that are not and ask why not. We believe in people like Edmund Burke, who said the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do what? To do nothing. We believe in what Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King said, that a time is going to come when people are going to be charged not anymore by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. You know, we believe in what Emerson said way back in 1845. If a man can build a better house or perhaps make a better mousetrap than their neighbor, even if they build the house in the woods, the world will make a beaten path to their door. As Sui Generis, we pride ourselves as having been artists now of over 80 law and other political science, call them philosophy, law, groundbreaking novel areas. And all these books are readily available at suigenerislawup.com and lubogo.org and almost all repositories and on the websites in the entire world. So we pride ourselves in channeling and trying to bring out the best in every individual. We believe, like what St. Francis of Assisi said, every heart can produce sweet music as long as you pluck it well. Once again, my name is Isaac Christopher Lubogo. Find our books at lubogo.org and suigenerislawup.com. God bless you and thank you for your attention.